Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Monday, September 26, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. The Minister of Justice announced today that there will be a disciplinary proceeding against the judge in Durres who granted ownership rights to a Durres citizen for the property where Omnex Company was to construct a tourist complex. The judge in Durres made a serious mistake. She ignored her office in return for compensation of property. The decision should not have been made by one judge, but by 3 judges. The court did not have information whether the person who claimed the property actually had it for 20 years. The Minister of Justice's decision came after an administrative investigation of the case, which started on September 21st, immediately following the Omnex Company administrator leaving Albania due to the violence exerted against him. Also, the minister publicly dismissed the Durres state lawyer and another lawyer who was present at the court session. The minister also declared that he asked for Durres City Hall to dismiss its lawyer for failure to appeal the court's decision. The Minister of Justice's third request was for the prosecution general, whom he asked to launch an investigation for any possible connection between the court's actions and decision and the criminal attack of the Lebanese businessman. He declared that all institutional representatives involved in the process should be interrogated. The Minister of Justice also gave assurance that he will follow every step of the investigation closely. The Socialist Party's parliamentary group has decided that the emergency package of laws for implementing the judicial reform, which was predicted to be adopted on September 29th's plenary session, should be postponed until October 6th. The ad hoc commission on judicial reform has not concluded all the laws and did not gather today to discuss the last law of the package, which regulates the functioning of the Constitutional Court, as the opposition boycotted the meeting, stating an absence of consensus for the law regarding the judicial system's governing bodies. The opening ceremony of European Summer School, organized by the National Council of Integration, was held today. The chairman of the National Council of Integration expressed optimism about Albania opening negotiations with the European Union, and declared that this will be the year Albania will receive the recommendation for accession to negotiate. According to the chairwoman of the National Council of Integration, Albania will be positively evaluated for the work it has done, especially for adopting the judicial reform, which is very important for Albania's integration. The judicial reform is on the top of reforms and will give us the opportunity to continue with the integration process. I think this is the year we will be positively evaluated because of the judicial reform. The reform is a good opportunity for beginning EU negotiations, which will open more jobs in Albania. Opening negotiations will depend on our performance, she said. The Assembly Speaker, Ilir Meta, once again highlighted the need for political dialogue between the parties. According to Meta, the integration issue is more important than any political agenda. The Parliament of Albania will always be committed to cooperate with all stakeholders and above all to construct a strong basis of political dialogue between the parties, in the interest of this major process for the Albanian people. The EU integration goes beyond political interests. Constructive dialogue is needed for reforms, declared the Assembly Speaker. The EU ambassador, Rama showed how important the integrations process is for democracy, economy, and society, saying, "The decision to undertake such a historic change is an identity issue. You should do this for your children, for their future. This is something you owe to your parents, to your grandparents, but above all, you owe it to yourself. The EU integration is more than a political solution. Albania still has many challenges ahead. Political dialogue is the most important part. Political dialogue is needed for a European Albania," declared EU Ambassador Vlahutin. The prospect of the EU opening negotiations with Albania this year is great. Therefore, the National Integration Council started training 37 applicants who will negotiate the chapters to join the European Union. Assembly Speaker Ilir Meta received the former U.S. Ambassador Alexander Arvizu today. Mr. Arvizu is now the U.S. Vice Assistant Secretary of State for the Rule of Law and International Narcotics Trafficking. The current U.S. ambassador to Albania, Mr. Donald Liu, also participated in the meeting. Mr. Arvizu praised the consensual adoption of the judicial reform and asked for continued political cooperation in order to progress with the reform. Mr. Mehta expressed his gratitude for the generous support of the U.S. for the rule of law, the fight against organized crime and corruption, and highlighted the support for realizing the judicial reform through the opt-out mission. Meanwhile, the Assembly Speaker emphasized that the judicial reform should be accompanied with the decriminalization of politics and of Albanian institutions. At the end, Mr. Mehta and Arvizu discussed strengthening cooperation between Albania and the U.S. in the fight against the cultivation and trafficking of narcotics, against organized crime, and against all criminal elements that conflict with Albania's European agenda. As the debate about waste law has evolved, politicians and civil society have exchanged accusations. Today, the Prime Minister, Rama, clarified the changes between the new waste law and the old one that was annulled in 2013. During a meeting with representatives of the Association of Recyclers, the Prime Minister considered the accusations as malicious and purely political. We did not adopt the waste law of 2013, which allowed import of garbage to be burned in Albania. The new law is based on EU legislation. The new law allows the import of green waste. The law gives the right to buy in a controlled market, said Rama. The Prime Minister said that raw materials will be bought in stocks and gave assurance that there will be rigorous checks at the custom points. Mr. Rama was careful to explain that there will be imported green waste and not garbage to be burned in Albania. Waste will be sold in stocks and auctions, and they will have stock prices. They are not garbage. There is no garbage sold in stocks, declared the Prime Minister, who also clarified that the law was not adopted for criminal purposes, as the opposition is accusing. The mafia does not live with paper and cans. Above all, the mafia is an enemy of recycling, said the Prime Minister. The minister clarified that the law will have a positive impact on the economy and that the raw materials to be imported are paper, aluminum, plastic, and wood waste. Mr. Rama also gave assurance that they will be scanned in order to stop radioactive waste from entering Albania. Meanwhile, representatives of the Recycling Association asked the government to invest in landfills and to divide waste into sources. The Prime Minister promised that the City Hall, in cooperation with a company yet to be determined, will soon start the process. Democratic Party Chairman Basha called on the President of the Republic not to decree the law on integrated management of waste. He expressed the opposition's commitment to use every constitutional instrument to repeal the law. In a media outlet, Mr. Basha said that the opposition will initiate a public referendum for this issue. We will first ask the President not to decree the law and return it to Parliament. We will do everything we can to stop the second adoption of this law in Parliament. We are examining the chances for Parliament to adopt a referendum to stop waste importation, declared Basha. The Democratic Party chairman said that the law was passed for criminal purposes, and for this reason he made this call to Albanian recyclers. The law was not adopted for you or to revive the recycling company, but it was adopted for Rama and international mafia interests. The Democratic Party chairman publicized his opinion that the adoption of a similar law by the Democratic Party's government back in 2011 was a mistake. He added that the Democratic Party's view has evolved and that if he was to make that decision now, he would not pass the law. At that time, we believed we were acting in favor of public interest, but the protest of over 64,000 citizens woke us up, and the fact that we admitted a referendum was a clear sign that we decided to hear the citizens' voice. The law on waste import that we proposed at that time was wrong, admitted the DP chairman, expressing support to civil society and citizens in their protest against waste law. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.